Hello, my name is John Crimes from Liberty University, School of Aeronautics. This presentation is going to be on mitigating aviation maintenance technicians' complacency through continued education from a human factors lens. So, the overview of this presentation is going to be precursors to complacency, human factors, an argument for uh, for this presentation, a counter argument, uh, towards towards the thesis and a biblical perspective to tie it all together. So the precursors to complacency is that complacency is a is born from boredom, and boredom can be mitigated by engaging the mind and learning. So um, boredom, or I should say complacency, is the underlying cause of errors. Um, and we're going to argue that it can be mitigated through learning. Learning can come in a couple different forms. It can come in the form of on-the-job training through certificate programs such as FAA, A&P license, HVAC licenses, or through even formal education such as college degrees or other formal education. So we're gonna look into the human factors from the lens that we're gonna look at this thesis from. So we're gonna look at the shell model. These are different human factor models: shell model, pair model, HFACS, the dirty dozen repair model, and the safety tube model. All except for the safety tube model are backwards looking. In other words, an incident occurs and they try to find the human factors that create the error. Safety two, on the other hand, is forward-looking in that it looks for the incident before it occurs. So the shell model stands for software, hardware, environment, liveware, and liveware. Liveware is just another word for people or person. So software would include things like SOPs, manuals, maintenance manuals, operating manuals. Hardware would include like tools, flight controls. The environment can be the natural environment, such as precipitation, weather. It could also include things like the management, the cultural safety culture of the organization. Then the first liveware is the person that's conducting the action, and the second liveware is the person that's being affected by the action. So pair is people, environment, actions, and resources. Now, people would be the person that's conducting the action that's causing the incident. Environment, again, could be the natural environment to include weather, but it also includes a cultural environment or the organizational environment. The action is the action that is caused by the person in the incident, and the resources would include things like people that you can get expertise from, or software or manuals or SOPs. HFACS. HFACS was born, the Human Factors Analysis and Category System was born from Dr. James Reason's Swiss cheese model. Swiss cheese model simply says that if you take multiple slices of Swiss cheese and you put them on top of each other, eventually the holes will line up among those slices. And when that happens, if the slices are different incidences, eventually those incidents will eventually cause a disastrous incident. So from that Swiss cheese model came the HFACS, which is the practical model that can be used. The Swiss cheese model is more theory. HFACS is the Swiss cheese model put into real life applications. So the Swiss cheese model, like I said, is fairly complicated, and I'll touch on the different categories that fall under there. So they would include cognitive, ergonomic, behavioral, aromatical, psychosocial, and organizational. So some of the things you're looking at there, let's say aromatical, for example, you're looking for the medical readiness of the mechanic or the medical readiness of a pilot. The the next model is a dirty dozen. This is typically used for maintainers, and you often see little posters in maintainer areas. So the different categories there are lack of communication, distraction, lack of resources, stress, complacency, lack of teamwork, pressure, lack of awareness, lack of knowledge, fatigue, lack of assertiveness, and norms of the culture or norms of the work. So, like I said, these are human factors that cause the error. All right, the next one is repair. Repair is a version of the pair model. Repair has risk mitigation measures into the pair model. So we're looking at risk management, environment, people, actions of the people, and the investigation for proper procedure, resources, and then execute. So the execute part of this is, let's say, for example, you've got to go work in a cold weather environment, such as outside on a flight line. One of the things you would do to mitigate that hazard would be to execute wearing a jacket or cold weather equipment. All right, so safety 2, like I said, safety 2 is quite different than the other 5 models. Safety 2 is forward looking. And what I mean by that is safety 2 data is looking at the good things that occur throughout the day, throughout the week, not just at the bad things. If you're just looking at the bad things, you're only looking at a very small portion of the workday, of the operations. Safety 2 looks at all the good things that happen as well, so it's a more holistic perspective. So we're going to go into the argument here. So looking at the, and there's a reference at the bottom of the page, bottom of the slide. It's from 2020. Causes and preventative measures for complacency as viewed by officers in charge of engineering watch. So in that study, they determined that complacency fell under 4 categories: technological, leadership, management, and self-induced. Now, technological would be like equipment, being reliant on equipment and getting complacent on that. Leadership would be you're looking at leadership complacency is poor communication from leadership due to self-interest. Workers are affected by leadership complacency by feeling uneasy and underappreciated. Now, management complacency on the other hand, is management telling the workers to disregard safety procedures. And then self-induced complacency is where the worker is disgruntled and has an attitude of, I don't care anymore, I'll just do whatever I want to. Out of that study, the conclusion was that through learning, you could combat complacent behavior, complacency. Now, the counter argument to that is another study done by Neff in 2022, the 5 hazardous attitudes, a subset of complacency. So in this study, this was a FAA-backed study. They broke down complacency into 5 different behaviors: anti-authority, impulsivity, invulnerability, macho, and resignation. Now, the last one, resignation, is the same as the last study, and whereas it's a disgruntled employee that sort of lost interest and has complacent behavior. And authority is where the worker has the attitude of, I'll do what I want to, you can't tell me what to do. Impulsivity is, we got to get this job done, let's hurry up. You end up skipping steps. Invulnerability is, no matter what I do, even if it's wrong, it'll still be safe. And then the macho behavior is taking, if you have 2, for example, maintainers, one trying to outdo the other, and you end up skipping steps to try to be better than the other. So in this study, if you look at it from the lens of a human factors model lens, under shell, it's the liveware, it's the person making the decision. Under the pair model, it's the person's action. That's that perspective. In the HFAC model, it's the hazardous complacent attitude that would fall under behavior. Under the Dirty Dozen model, it's the attitude that lines up with complacency. That's one of the 12 categories. And then the repairer model, it would fall under the people and the actions of the people. And then under safety 2 data model, HF model, human factors model, it's the complacent attitudes reported as it would be under people as well. Now going back, we'll go up to the argument study that supports the argument. Under all 6 of those models, it falls under the people. All right, so tying this into a biblical perspective, under Proverbs chapter 8, verses 10 and 11, receive my instruction and not silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is better than rubies, and all the things one may desire cannot compare with her being wisdom. So this verse, these 2 verses refer back to wisdom, refer back to knowledge, whereas knowledge is the mitigation measure to combating boredom, which leads into complacency, keeping the mind engaged. The key points, the takeaways from this presentation are: complacency is an underlying cause of errors. Boredom breeds complacent behavior. Learning is an effective method for mitigating complacent behavior. And human factor models lead towards complacent behavior as a people problem. All right, the next 3 slides are the references for this presentation. And that concludes this presentation. Thank you.